The 6 schools of philosophy in Sanatana Dharma. Within Sanatana Dharma there are 6 schools of philosophy. They include Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Vedanta. These 6 schools use different means to arrive at knowledge known as pramanas in Sanskrit. These pramanas include pratyaksha, otherwise known as inner and outer perception of knowledge through the sensory organs and the mind. Anumana or inference through the use of reason to derive knowledge from multiple observations or truth statements. Upamana, that means analogy. Arthapatti, that means deriving knowledge from circumstance. Anupalabdhi, which refers to deriving knowledge from non-perception, and Shabda, which refers to deriving knowledge from the word and testimony of reliable experts as found in the scriptures of Sanatana Dharma, with particular emphasis on Vedas. With that said, let us look at each of the different schools of philosophy in Sanatana Dharma. We'll start with Sankhya. Sankhya is the school of thought that uses rational examination to arrive at its conclusions. It uses the pramanas of pratyaksh, anumana and shabda to arrive at its philosophical conclusions. The primary concern of Sankhya is moksha by the realization of the self or Atman. We shall now move on to the school of yoga that also uses the pramanas of pratyaksh, anumana and shabda to arrive at its philosophical conclusions. Yoga is the practice of self-control to help one attain union with the divine. The Yoga Sutras of the sage Patanjali are a major foundation for this school, also known as Ashtanga Yoga or 8-limbed yoga. That being said, yogic practices are mentioned in other schools of thought such as Nyaya and Vedanta, for example. Apart from that, there is also Hatha Yoga, a school of yoga derived from the Nath Sampradaya or spiritual lineage, and other devotional schools within Sanatana Dharma that has its own set of texts that have a tantric perspective while sharing similar practices and ideas to that of Ashtanga Yoga. The next school of philosophy in Sanatana Dharma we will take a look at is Nyaya. Nyaya means justice, rules, method and judgment in Sanskrit. This school of thought concerns itself with the pursuit of right knowledge, which will in turn help a person to gain moksha or liberation. A key text of the Nyaya school of philosophy is the Nyaya Sutras by Akshapada Gautama. In terms of the pramanas used by the Nyaya school, they include the following: pratyaksh, anumana, upamana, and shabda. The next school of philosophy in Sanatana Dharma that we shall discuss is Mimamsa. The term Mimamsa has 2 meanings. It can mean both reflection or critical investigation. This school of philosophy is primarily concerned with understanding the motivations of human beings and how they achieve the highest good, that is moksha, with a particular emphasis on the rituals prescribed in Vedas and how they can help a person to attain that. There are 2 schools of thought within Mimamsa. The Prabhakara school of the scholar Prabhakara, which uses pratyaksh, anumana, upamana, arthapatti and shabda as its pramanas. The other school of Mimamsa is the school of Kumarila Bhatta, which uses the pramanas of pratyaksh, anumana, upamana, arthapatti, shabda and anupalabdhi to derive knowledge. In terms of key texts used by the Mimamsa school of thought, the Purva Mimamsa Sutra by the sage Jamini is a foundational text for this school of philosophy. The next school of philosophy that we shall discuss is Vaisheshika. Its name means distinctions and refers to how this school of thought establishes different distinctions in terms of what constitutes our natural world in an effort to better understand it. It is considered to be a kind of atomistic school of thought. This school of philosophy uses the pramanas of pratyaksha and anumana to derive knowledge. Vaisheshika breaks down the natural world into 9 aspects that include the 5 elements or panchabhutas. They include earth or Prithvi, water or Ap, fire or Tejas, wind or Vayu, and ether or Akash, as well as other aspects of existence such as time or Kala, space or Dik, the self or Atman, and the mind or Manas. On top of that, Vaisheshika goes deeper and discusses the concept of atoms called Parmanu in Sanskrit that is very similar to the modern understanding of atoms today. Vaisheshika even says that every atom in our world is unique. Amazing stuff, right? In terms of foundational scriptures that elucidate the views of this school of thought, the Vaisheshika Sutras by the sage Kannada is a very important text. The last school of philosophy that we shall discuss is Vedanta. The term Vedanta means the end of Vedas and highlights how Vedanta is supposed to help a seeker of knowledge come to an understanding of the essence of the spiritual knowledge within Vedas. Within Vedanta there are many philosophical positions. Furthermore, depending on the philosophical perspective within Vedanta, the pramanas used to arrive at knowledge may differ. For example, Advaita Vedanta uses the pramanas of Pratyaksh, Anumana, Anupalabdhi, Upamana, Arthapatti and Shabda, while Vishishtadvaita and Tattvavada use Pratyaksh, Anumana and Shabda as their pramanas. With that said, let us now look at the different philosophical perspectives found within Vedanta. One of the many philosophical positions in Vedanta is Advaita Vedanta or non-dualism, which teaches that there is no difference between the individual self or Atman and the supreme self or Paramatma, also known as Brahman. A famous preceptor of this philosophical position is Adi Shankara, who is considered to be an avatar of Lord Shiva. Another philosophical position in Vedanta is Vishishtadvaita, which means qualified non-dualism. Vishishtadvaita says that there is a difference between the Atman and Brahman in this sense. Brahman is supreme and independent, while individual Atmans are subservient and dependent on Brahman. Nevertheless, Vishishtadvaita maintains that the essence of the individual Atman is the same as Brahman. A key preceptor of this philosophical position is Ramanuja, who teaches that Brahman is Lord Vishnu. He is a key figure in the Sri Vaishnava branch of Vaishnavism, that is a devotional sect dedicated to the worship of Lord Vishnu and his other avatars such as Rama, Krishna and more. Another philosophical perspective is Shuddhadvaita, which means pure non-dualism. Shuddhadvaita teaches that the essence of the individual Atman is the same as the Supreme Brahman. A prominent teacher of this philosophical position is Vallabha, who is the founder of the Pushtimarg sect of Vaishnavism. The next philosophical position that we shall discuss is Tattvavada. The term Tattvavada means exposition on reality. This philosophical position maintains that there is a difference between individual Atmans and Brahman, who is always supreme and independent. Individual Atmans are dependent and subservient to Brahman, and this difference is maintained even after the individual Atman attains moksha. A major teacher of this philosophical position is Madhava, who teaches that Lord Vishnu is the supreme Brahman. Madhava is also considered to be an avatar of Lord Vayu, the wind divinity. Another Vedantic perspective is Achintya Abheda, which means inconceivable oneness and difference. It emphasizes that there is a oneness between Brahman and the individual Atman in that they both share the same essence, yet there is a difference in terms of their relationship to one another, as Brahman is supreme and independent while the individual Atman is dependent on and subservient to Brahman. This philosophical position was taught by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the founder of the Gaudiya Vaishnava sect of Vaishnavism and is also considered to be an avatar of Lord Krishna and the goddess Radha in one being. Another philosophical position is Dvaita-Advaita or difference and oneness taught by Nimbarka, who also teaches that Brahman and Atman are one in terms of their essence, but different in terms of their relationship to one another, with Brahman being supreme and independent, while individual Atmans are subservient to and dependent on Brahman. Nimbarka is considered to be an avatar of one of Lord Vishnu's divine weapons, his Sudarshana Chakra. Yet another philosophical perspective in Vedanta is the perspective of Swaminarayan, the founder of the Swaminarayan sect within Sanatana Dharma. It is called Akshara Purushottama Darshana. It must be said that while it is similar in many ways to Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita, Swaminarayan's Akshara Purushottama Darshana includes a distinction between Parabrahman, the supreme or higher Brahman, and Akshara Brahman, the imperishable Brahman. This view is elucidated by Swaminarayan in the Swaminarayan scripture called the Vachanamrita, where he says, Parabrahman, that is Purushottama Narayana, is distinct from Brahman and also the cause, support and inspirer of Brahman. In terms of the texts that are important in Vedanta, they include the Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads. These three texts are collectively known as the Prasthanatrayi or three sources in Sanskrit. It must also be said that the other devotional sects within Sanatana Dharma, such as Shaivism and Shaktism, also have their own philosophical perspectives that are influenced in many ways by Vedanta as well as Tantra. This video, however, is meant to give an overview of the different philosophical schools and perspectives within Sanatana Dharma. We will discuss the different devotional sects within Sanatana Dharma and the philosophy that informs them in future. And there you have it. This is a humble attempt on my part to explore and discuss the different schools of philosophy within Sanatana Dharma. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Be sure to like and subscribe to my videos as well as watch my previous introductory video on Sanatana Dharma as well. Have a great day and keep expanding the horizons of your knowledge.